Welcome to the historic Cotton Bowl at Fair Park in Dallas. I'm Dia Wall.
And I'm Brittany Moncrief. And 2025 marks the centennial anniversary of the State Fair Classic.
We want to celebrate 100 years of the culture, the history, and the legacy of this iconic matchup right here in North Texas.
And at the same time, we also want to look ahead to the future. And as the saying goes, you got to know where you came from in order to know where you're going. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this journey to a classic centennial.
There's pomp, there's circumstance.
SWAC football is very competitive and very exciting.
And a game that's gone the distance.
Being able to walk in that stadium and see 50, 60,000 people cheering on both institutions, both great programs, makes me feel good as being an athletic director.
The State Fair Classic is an HBCU matchup unlike any other.
It's kind of like a mini reunion.
Featuring some of the baddest bands in the country. And more recently, some really good football.
Saturday night, we're going to have an issue. Hey! Saturday night, we plan to come off this hill, and I know there's turkey legs and funnel cakes and all that stuff being given, but certainly there's going to be some pads popping on that Cotton Bowl field.
As Prairie View A&M and Grambling State Universities face off for the 100th State Fair Classic.
Well, you're honored. You're honored to be a part of history. And that's something that you're going to remember for the rest of your life.
Along with alumni from every generation.
I graduated from the Grambling State University in December 1981. You hear that song and it just puts you on fire and you just want to fight for dear old Grambling, just what the song says.
I'm very competitive when it comes to Prairie View, and I know for a fact that we love each other, but when we hit that field, everything's a competition. Or even in the stands, it's a competition.
Beyond the football are the ties that bind these schools together.
At an HBCU, you feel like a family member. And always, even once you graduate, you're still connected to your university.
You care about the students coming after you. You want them to succeed as much as you have, and you want them to know that if they lean back and try and reach for your hand or seek your guidance, you'll be right there to catch them.
So this centennial goes beyond the game. It's lighting the path for a legacy that still continues.
This is more than just two institutions coming off the hill, leaving rural North Louisiana. This is a culmination of excellence.
In Dallas, with Brittany Moncrief, I'm Dia Wall.
The State Fair Classic opened on the day designated for Black attendees in 1925. And there's no better place to learn about the evolution of the game and its history than the African American Museum of Dallas. Margie Reese, the Chief Program Officer, opened up the archives in our full interview.
So first starting off, tell me a little bit about, well, one, why the State Fair Classic is so important.
Wow, there are about 10 million reasons the State Fair Classic is important. But for me, growing up, going to an HBCU in the 60s, the band was the heartbeat of the weekend. But the Classic, even before the bands became the centerpiece, it's a way that we celebrate who we are, the way we celebrate young people, the way we celebrate our men in particular. And it brings families together, groups of people that went to school together years before come back together, come to the State Fair for that reason. And so it's a celebration, a football game is a competition, but in this case it's not. It's a moment of strength. It brings us back together to create new memories, to celebrate memories, and just to be who we are as people, as a people.
Walk me through the history of the State Fair Classic.
I'm not so sure that I can go far back, but I do remember, I can't even remember the year, but I remember the late Al Lipscomb as a city council member that had done so much already for our community. I remembered him talking about bringing a game like that back to. So keep in mind that as early as, I guess, the early 50s, there was a classic. It was Prairie View, Tennessee, Prairie View, Texas Southern, Prairie View, Grambling. And so this effort to bring it back as a permanent fixture during the time of the State Fair was very much welcomed. By that time we couldn't quite figure out who pays for it How do the kids get here? What hotel do they stay in? So some issues had been removed just because of time. And then there were other ones. There were new ones about ownership and all that. But nonetheless, Mr. Lipscomb was such a strong voice for community and for us celebrating who we are without being apologetic about it, that people listened. And I think the corporate community, certainly the State Fair of Texas and that board that manages this whole operation called the State Fair, I think we were welcoming the chance to bring that kind of activity back beyond the stigma of African Americans were relegated to a certain time and certain places. So beyond that time, we were ready to bring it back to celebrate, I think, the athleticism, the scholarship, the creative, aspects of it, but also to celebrate community. And that's why, to me, it's just such an important event.
Yeah, and we heard Ms. Willie Mae and Mr. Johnson talking about reliving some of those days, and they mentioned how before the day of the State Fair Classic was called the Negro Achievement Day.
That's right.
Talk to me about that.
So it was a construct, a social construct that allowed African Americans to celebrate themselves and almost put on display the beauty of the human mind and figure. It allowed them to celebrate scientific contributions, athletic contributions, but just simply to be in the midway and create memories, right? But it was in line with what else was happening in the country at that time. It was marginalized. It was separated as something special for those people. Honey, it has morphed and grown and penetrated the State Fair just like everything else has. So we didn't have fried butter and fried ice cream and all that kind of stuff, But the memories are lasting. And we want that kind of memory as we get older. So we can look back and see progress. We can see how our joy has been compounded generation after generation. And so when you talk to those who lived the Midway, who lived it in their own way, from this neighborhood too, and they come back and talk about that memory, that's powerful. It just gives them that chance to talk about progress. If we could say that we have progressed, let's talk about that. But let's talk about it from a human perspective, not from a governmental or civil rights. Certainly those things are involved. But just talk about it from who we are as people. Yeah.
And you were looking through some of those photos with them and showing this to. What was that feeling like, or what was going through your mind looking through those photos and being able to share that with them?
And I loved sharing it with them, first of all. And I loved hearing their reactions to it, because they remember they were talking about the twins. Like that was like a standout moment for them. The twins were icons and beauty queens. For me, it was kind of circling back to the work that we do as a museum to protect cultural memory, to make sure that our heritage is represented as deep and broad. We're not all one monolithic race of people. And so to be able to share that with them and just see the joy, their body language changes, how they become animated again. So just to think about experiencing 1960, 1970 State Fair days, it just helps us connect to the moments that they lived and to the moments that we can celebrate for the future.
Yeah. What about when you think about, you mentioned the progress, going from just having that one day that blacks were allowed to go to the fair, and then now, like you said, the culture is all throughout.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't grow up in Texas, so I don't know what I, as a high school student, it felt like. I grew up in Louisiana, where there was an HBCU in my neighborhood. My parents worked there. So everything in my life, was circled around education. That wasn't the case everywhere. Now, yes, bias, separation, all those things. You can't swim in this swimming pool. You can't come on this day. That's real. That's part of our history. So to see them remember what it was like to be in high school, and even to have this one moment over the course of the days or weeks at the fair, to have this one day that was yours. Can you imagine the anticipation? What do I wear? And who am I going to go with? How much money do I need to save up to spend at the fair? Life lessons all throughout that, but also life lessons that things change. And we are ready, always, have always been ready to step into change. Barack Obama says change can happen, and it continues to happen. So to have those elders in the museum enjoying, keeping their minds sharp and open, is that something we have to do? Because they brought it. They come to the museum with those memories. I wish it could be recorded. I wish every Dallas ISD high school kid could hear that excitement in their voices. There were so few things in life, and sometimes there still are, just to be authentically happy. We want to make sure that those stories and that feeling never gets lost.
Yeah, and like you said, making sure that that never gets lost. We're celebrating 100 years. 100 years.
We've been doing this for 100 years. What a tradition. 2 or 3 days ago, I was trying to explain to a colleague of mine who's a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I said, well, I can only talk for a few minutes because we're getting ready for the state fair. She said, oh, tell me about that. And I thought, how much time do you have? From livestock shows. She said, what goes on there? Do they have people set up booths? I said, oh no, honey, this is a whole operation. Just to witness the move-in, the scaffolding, the trucks, gosh, refrigeration, everything you can imagine to set up almost an Olympic village, right? Everything that has to be brought in here. The thing that makes Fair Park ready for the state fair has to be done within this block of time. And I mean, it happens like a well-oiled machine. It's very quiet. You see the trucks rolling in. We're on the front side of the park, so we don't get to see the animals, but the rodeo is one of my favorite things, and the cowboys. The real cowboys is one of my favorite things. So 100 years of doing the same thing, growing, changing attitudes, changing the environment, changing the way the automobiles look, all of that has to be orchestrated, And so to do the same thing that you've always done for 100 years and try to do it better every year is a real testament to the human genius.
Yeah. And what about for celebrating the 100 years, and when you think of the State Fair Classic and, the fact that, again, that it was Negro Achievement Day and it was, part of Black culture, and then for it to sustain this long and to continue?
Well, you can't keep good people down. And you can't stop people from changing, and you certainly cannot stop people from having ideas. So coming to the state fair now as an African American, you don't experience it the same way as you may have 50 years ago, and for good reason. Young people want a different experience. Families want a different experience. All of that has to shift and change with time. And so now, African Americans are not on the margins of the planning. We're in the planning and making sure that the park is safe and welcoming, but also that there are enough creative outlets for us as a people, for the Latino community, for the Jewish community, for any culture under the sun that calls Texas home. The state fair is the place where you can experience that and share who you are.
Yeah. And the museum will be open every day throughout the fair too as well.
Every day throughout the fair. There might be 1 or 2 days where we will be closed, but the museum is open. It's always free. It's always been free. We've got great exhibitions. Programs for kids will be happening in the basement of this building. And I think, the curiosity that people have brings them here, but some of them come because it's a heartbeat away from memory. It's a heartbeat away from having come here as a 16-year-old, too. So the African American Museum is part of this park, and we're part of the State Fair, Texas.
And speaking of that, we're in the museum, and of course people come to the museum to learn, like you said, to see some of those cultural memories. From today's experience and talking to Don and Willie Mae and going through those pictures, for you, What do you take away from it?
Don't stop. Don't stop doing this work of making our culture visible, because it's important to Don and Willie Mae, but it's important to their grandchildren, their neighbors' kids, and the kids down the street. It makes me feel very proud to hear them talk about their experiences in the dome of this safe place called the African American Museum. They talked a lot about Dr. Robinson and how they interacted with him as a younger museum scholar. That makes me so proud. So hearing people tell their own story, there's nothing like it. You can read as many times as you want to read the Iliad and the Odyssey, but none of it is as impactful as oral history, hearing people talk about their memories. So for me, it just reinforces that this work is important.
And there's a huge alumni presence from both universities here.
Even Grambling State has 3 alumni chapters right here in North Texas. That's something I had to learn. So I talked to alumni from both universities to find out what this matchup means to them. We got to talk about the State Fair Classic.
Okay.
100 years. Not a lot of things, Jessica, make it to a centennial anniversary. For people who may have never been, what is it like going to a State Fair Classic as an alum?
It's kind of like a mini reunion. So basically, when you go to a State Fair Classic, before you get there, you're going to text every Prairie View person you know. You're going to be on social media looking to see who's going to be around. And you're going to say, hey, you going to the game? Where are you going to be at? Are you going to go hang out over here? Those type of conversations. You're going to stop by every vendor booth that's HBCU related. And then you're going to look out for, okay, let me go find this student. Let me go see what type of activities are going on around. And you're just really going to just have you're going to have a great social event. You're going to just be like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. Let's catch up. Or let's go find our seats. Or let's take pictures. Where's the marching storm? And let's make sure we got a good view of seeing everything. That's basically what you see when you're attending the Grambling Prairie View game.
When you talk about like that aspect of what are we going to see, of course you bring up the marching storm. You grew up here. You know the saying was always, you come for the bands and you tolerate the game. Yeah. But that's changed a little bit of late. The games are a little more competitive.
Yes, extremely. I would say yes. I'm very competitive when it comes to Prairie View. And I know for a fact that we love each other, but when we hit that field, everything's a competition. Or even in the stands, it's a competition. Like, I've noticed that if I sit next to somebody from Grambling, they're going to be like, oh, are you sure this your section? Well, I'll be like, oh, every section's my section. Because we started before y'all, so this is my section.
How important is it for a game like the State Fair Classic? Like, people may say it's just a game, but how much does it really rejuvenate the legacy of a PV?
I would say it taps into like the people that come from different high schools or different colleges and they hear about the history of Prairie View. Some of those students are looking at the band, looking at the color guard, looking at us and saying, hey, I want to be in this family someday. Like, I want to be a part of the band. I've heard from multiple students last week how they love the Marching Storm. They hope to be a part of the band. And the legacy of the university is so rich. Like, people know about so many things about Prairie View, and they're not even at the institution. Like, their teachers, their mentors went to Prairie View. And so that is the equivalent of how rich and how far the university is going with our legacy.
When you think about the future of a Prairie View, what is your hope? And what would you want people who maybe didn't attend an HBCU or Prairie View in particular, what would you want them to know about the future of your university and the strength and the power in it?
I want people to know, stop listening to the outside conversations of the negative negative things. When it comes to people saying, oh, Prairie View's a party school, that's really not true. Like, unless you go to the institution, you really don't know what we're all about. Yes, we love to have fun, but like everybody loves to have fun. But we have fun and we educate ourselves. We get honors awards, like we go above and beyond. And I want people to also know, once you take a trip to Prairie View, see how amazing it is. See the light that we see. See the reason that we're inclusive. Like, you don't know how many different study abroad programs we have for every department. You don't see all the alumni chapters raising money for scholarships for students to attend college, as well as we assist with so many fundraisers to help students on campus with, like, if they need clothes, toiletry, things like that. I've donated a lot of what I have financially to this institution, to the alumni chapter. So when you look at Prairie View, look at the fact that if you know of schools where they give back, this is one of those institutions, constantly. I would give them every dollar in my pocket because they've given me more than I could ever repay them for.
For me, when I think of the State Fair Classic, one, I know it's a tradition.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of people realize how old of a tradition it is. What does 100 years mean?
Oh my God, 100. Now, I know that Grambling hasn't been in 100 years, but still, just to keep it going this long, it's phenomenal. It's, you know, it's unthinkable. And what it means is that there's something HBCU related with all of this tradition and legacy, and we love it. It's nothing like an HBCU.
When it comes to the game, where are you for the normal State Fair Classic? When you walk into the Cotton Bowl?
Where am I? Somewhere around Grambling Band. Is that what you mean? I'm trying to find the band. What side are we sitting on? You know, I'll go upstairs and, you know, hang out with the president, of course, but I like to be down in the trenches. Even at our home games, I like to be down in the trenches. And when that band plays the fight song and talking out the side of your neck, baby, that's just it for me. That's it for me.
Why are the alumni so proud and so just loud about the legacy of Grambling?
Because of what it stands for. We have so many unique, famous people that have gone to Grambling, right? And the people that went before us, like Coach Eddie Robinson. I mean, you can't find another one. You will never find another one. And I know that the Cotton Bowl is in Texas and, you know, Dallas is in Texas, but to us, Grambling is known as Dallas West. So, you know, all these other places, you know, might be from Texas. We're not, but we own it. I mean, you know, this is Grambling West for us, and we just come here and take over and make it ours, make it our own.
For someone who may not know a lot about Grambling, its alumni, and those traditions, what would you want them to know?
I want them to know that Grambling was founded in 1901. It is the HBCU in North Louisiana, the best HBCU. We, like you said, we are loud and proud. We know we have a legacy at Grambling State University. Not everybody has that, right? We are, when we say the Grambling State University, we mean that. We recruit heavily in this area and everywhere else across the country. We recruit for Grambling because we don't expect Grambling to go anywhere else. It's going to stay there, the Grambling State University, black and gold, the Tigers, Eddie Robinson. I can't stop saying his name because Eddie Robinson is a legend, and he was just so sweet and so humble, you know? And we're just proud of that. We're proud of what we have built at Grambling. I was a computer science graduate, undergrad, and I have a master's at Grambling in criminal justice. And I mean, I'm proud. I was with IBM 43 years, right? 43 years because I graduated in computer science, was well educated by Grambling State University professors, and they're still there.
When you hear your fight song today as
Girl, it's like, you know, it's been picked among the top 25 in the country, our fight song. Did you know that? Yes. And it's just, I mean, you hear that song and it just puts you on fire and you just want to fight for dear old Grambling, just what the song says. And there's no doubt that we are pride of the USA.
You know, there have been folks who have said, like, do we still need HBCUs in 2025? Can't we all just go to any university? Why does having an HBCU still matter now?
Well, at one time, you know, we could not go to PWIs, and so that's why the HBCUs came along. And they're different in that I've gone to a PWI during summer school, you know, when I came out to co-op here, and I went to a PWI, and I felt like a number. At an HBCU, you feel like a family member. And always, even once you graduate, you're still connected to your university. They still call you. Look at me, I'm here now. They use you, and we just, you know, we want to keep it going because it's the family. An HBCU, it's the family atmosphere. We know that we're cared about, and we're not just a number. And we'll just always be proud to be an HBCU alum. Always, it's nothing like it.
How will you feel when you get to see your Tigers take the field in the 100th HBCU State Fair Classic?
I know, it's so exciting. I mean, we're here, you know, we're all the way live and we're ready. We're gonna win, there's no doubt. And I just, you know, the Tigers, it's just something about that G on that helmet or on your chest. It's nothing like that G. We don't have to have an animal or a flower or whatever. Our logo is a G. And we love it.
Well, we hope you enjoyed our celebration of the State Fair Classic at the Cotton Bowl and its place in North Texas history,
while looking ahead to an even stronger tradition and legacy of excellence. I'm Dia Wong.
And I'm Brittany Moncrief.
Thank you so much for joining us for a Classic Centennial.